If you struggle with procrastination in pursuit of your self-improvement goals, today I'm going to give you 3 powerful questions that you can ask yourself to overcome procrastination once and for all and finally see the progress that you want to in pursuit of your goals. I'm going to explain to you why overcoming procrastination in the moment has been my superpower so far in 2026, and I'm going to give you the tools that you need so that you can do exactly the same. But first, this is a chance for me to explain a little bit of a shift that I'm making in the way that I approach content and what I've historically called the podcast. Because what I've noticed is I face quite a lot of resistance sometimes when it comes to actually planning and recording and then shipping podcasts. And what I also know is that through the summer, when I was working less, I was recording shorter off-the-cuff episodes, and that allowed a bit more diversity in the format. And it also allowed me to record and ship more frequently when I wasn't working as much as I usually do. So what I've decided to do is to move away from the traditional idea of what I have in my mind of what is and is not a podcast, and aim to share ideas and episodes more frequently on YouTube and on Spotify and Apple Podcasts, so that I'm less constrained by the shackles of feeling like the podcast has to be or not be a certain way or a certain thing. And that's an opportunity for me to talk a bit today about agency and about procrastination and about the idea that you can just do things. Because one of the things that I see most often as a barrier to success in my client community, but also more broadly amongst people that I know, is procrastination and inertia. And I know that, just like learning a language or learning an instrument, the skill of overcoming procrastination and becoming more action-oriented can be taught and learnt. I know that for me, procrastination shows up in one of 2 ways. Either fear, so I put off doing something because I'm scared of failure, or I'm scared of things going wrong, or I'm scared of nobody caring, basically things that might impact on my ego. Or resistance. So it's something that I do genuinely want to do, but it's difficult or it requires effort. To give you a couple of examples, I'm in the process of arranging the first ever Mind and Matter Method in-person community event. Really excited to take that next step in the evolution of the community, bring people together in person. But I noticed a lot of resistance and procrastination when it came to actually putting myself out there and making it happen. I took ages setting up the payment link so that people could actually buy tickets. I took ages arranging the logistics of where it was going to be and when. On reflection, I noticed that the reason that I was stalling on that was because I was scared. I was scared that no one would come, no one would care, or it would just not go as I wanted to. So I finally overcame that fear, set up the payment link, started getting the logistics in place and everything else, and felt like, oh, I've done it. I've overcome it. A few people started signing up from my community, felt good. And then I realized I actually had an event, but that wasn't enough because I hadn't done anything in terms of putting together an idea of why people should come, why people should give up their spare time on a Saturday to come and see me in person, what they would get out of it, and the details and FAQs and everything else. So I actually had not overcome the fear. I thought I had, but I realized that I was then procrastinating on taking that next step. And it's only now that I've done that, I've put a detailed brief together which explains what's going to happen, the benefits of coming together, why there are things that we will cover on the day that we just can't do online. And now more people are coming. And now we've got a good little crew of the community who will be at the event. And now it's serious and now it's happening. But that now means I can turn my attention and focus to the creative side of things, what we're going to cover, how we're going to make it an awesome experience for everybody there. And that's where my energy should go. It shouldn't be going on berating myself for not doing the simple things like setting up a payment link or explaining what we're going to cover. It should be placed on what's going to deliver most value to the people who are going to be there. And now I can do that. But I wasted a lot of time before that resisting actually taking action because I was scared of failure. So that's the fear angle of procrastination. And the resistance angle comes when there are things that I genuinely want to do, either in my work or in my personal life, but doing them requires preparation, effort, and focus. And an example of that is the podcast. So I have a fixed idea in my mind of what the podcast should be. It needs to be a certain length, or I need to have a script or a template that I'm going to talk to. It's going to have to be on a specific subject, etc., etc. And what I've noticed is that actually holds me back from taking action, because I feel like I need longer to plan, prepare, record, edit, ship than I probably do, because there is no fixed format, and ultimately I can do what I want. So that's what I'm moving towards. I'm moving towards diversity in format. So I'll still do interviews. I'll still do deep dives, but I want to share more personal observations and ideas that you can't get anywhere else, because that's where the true value is. In the era of AI and information overwhelm and information overload, information is not that valuable anymore. But what is insightful and valuable is a unique angle, perspective, or idea. And that only comes from human interaction and observation. So that's what I want to do more of. And the benefit of that is it removes some of that friction and resistance that was leading to procrastination and would lead to me thinking that the project of the podcast needed to be a bigger deal than really it does. Just spilt my tea. So my aim now is to record more frequently, ship more frequently, and remove some of that friction so that I'm eliminating resistance and I'm sharing my ideas that are going to help you. I'm feeling really energized and focused at the start of this year. And there's a few things that I can't stop thinking about that are helping me gather momentum as we move through January. The first is the space between an idea and taking action. The concept is the quicker that you act on an idea, the quicker you get feedback, the quicker you learn, evolve, and improve. And the longer the gap between idea and execution, the less progress you're going to make. And that goes for any self-improvement goal or any project that you might have. Another thing that I can't stop thinking about is that there are two types of people: those who hope things will happen and those who make things happen. What I am not saying, obviously, is that we can control every variable and we're like the Watcher in the Marvel universe who's able to move the chess pieces around the board and control humanity. But there is definitely a case for saying there is more within our sphere of control and influence than we sometimes give ourselves credit for. And hoping things will happen teaches learned helplessness. There are obviously cases where we can't control the outcome, but there are many cases where there is more within our control than we realize. And what those two ideas are encouraging me to do is take action and move forward, test, iterate, get feedback, because that is the only way that I'm going to improve and evolve personally and in my work and in my other self-improvement goals as well. And the other thing is that so far this year, noticing procrastination in the moment rather than afterwards in hindsight has been my superpower. Because when I notice the desire to put things off or do things maybe tomorrow or maybe next week, I can overcome it. Whereas obviously, if you only notice it afterwards on reflection, the moment's gone, you've missed the opportunity. And I'm seeing examples of that every single day. For example, last Monday, I was recording a goal-setting masterclass for my client community. And I had the time on Monday, but my initial thought was, it's fine, you've already done quite a lot of work today, just put it off till tomorrow. But instead of doing that, which is probably what I would have done last year, I thought, no, it will only take me an hour. I've easily got an hour now. I feel energized. I know what I'm going to talk about. Let's just do it. And I did it. And that meant I was able to ship it quicker and provide value to my clients quicker. Or examples in my personal life, I've got an ongoing life admin to-do list in TickTick. And instead of just looking at it every day and thinking, I'll do that tomorrow, I find myself now catching the idea that I might do it tomorrow or next week, and instead acting in the moment, because I know that the more open loops in your head, the less executive function you are going to have for the things that matter. The more you're holding things that you need to do in your head rather than acting on them and closing them off, the less motivation and focus you are going to have for things that are actually difficult. Why has that been something that I've been able to do this year? It's actually difficult to pinpoint, but I do put it down to the regular practice that I have every single week of thinking about thinking, metacognition. And that comes from journaling, reflection, my weekly review, my end of day, 3 things I'm proud of or 3 things I'm grateful for, and having solitude in my life, just so there's quiet time where I'm not numbing myself with social media or distracting myself in some other way, but just thinking about how things are going. And that skill of metacognition can be learnt. And it comes from just having a regular practice of reviewing and planning how things are going. So journaling is my go-to, but a weekly review also works, or an end of day review or a start of day review. Meditation and mindfulness can work here because the act of meditation and mindfulness helps you realize that you are not your thoughts, your emotions, or your feelings. You are the observer of them. And creating that space means that you can develop the skill of seeing and noticing when you are falling foul of destructive characteristics or traits that might be holding you back, like procrastination, so that you can actually act on them and overcome them. The way I see this manifest amongst the guys that I work with is generally procrastination around consistent training, or procrastination around sorting out their nutrition, meal planning, or making the switch personally or in their household towards a healthier way of eating. And it is one of the biggest things that holds people back. That's a health and fitness and physique example, but the same applies in any self-improvement pursuit. So I would ask you, where are you holding yourself back by procrastinating because of fear or resistance of doing the thing? So 3 questions you can ask yourself. The first is, what am I most fearing doing? Because in general, the thing that you are most fearing doing is usually the thing that you most need to do. That comes from Tim Ferriss. I ask myself that in my weekly review every single Saturday morning, and that's how I realized that I was facing a lot of fear of failure when it came to arranging the in-person event. Second question for you. How can I become more aware of my procrastination as it happens rather than realizing after it's happened? And the skill there is in a regular metacognitive practice, thinking about thinking, which in general comes from some form of mindfulness practice or journaling or reviewing your progress. And if you're not sure where to start, I love the idea of plus minus next, which you can do every week. It can take as little as 5 minutes. You just have 3 columns on a page. First column is plus, second column is minus, third column is next. In the plus, you put all of the positives from the week. In the minus, you put all the things that you hoped had gone better, but they didn't. And in the next column, you put the actions that you are going to take next. And again, that is focusing on action. It's not focusing on rumination or hoping things will happen. It's focusing on what you can actually control and influence next time. And the third question for you is, what processes can I simplify or eliminate to set myself up for success with the things that are important to me? So for example, if you are struggling with consistency with your workouts and you know you are putting it off and you're procrastinating on it, one of my clients said to me yesterday, I am a professional procrastinator. And the thing he is procrastinating on is planning for his weekly training. I was on a mastery call with one of my clients yesterday, and he was telling me that the start of the year hadn't gone as he'd hoped. He was facing a lot of winter slug mode, not really getting going, and actually putting other people first. So he was encouraging other people and helping them with their health and fitness pursuits, but not focusing on his own needs. So on the call, we said, all right, let's go through your week now. Let's put in your workouts for the week. Let's put in the time that you're going to get out of the house in the morning before you start work. He works from home. This guy is organized. He's got a good job, and he's also in the process of setting up his own business. So it's not a problem of not being organized or not being able to do it. It's simply a problem of procrastination. It took us 5 minutes on the call, and then he was able to say, okay, Wednesday, Thursday, Saturday, that's my workouts. I've put in a time block before 7:30 a.m. where I can get out of the house for a walk. 5 minutes a week. Or if it's nutrition, how can you move towards a weekly evening meal plan with your partner. I know that we save a lot of money in our household and a lot of decision fatigue by having a consistent meal plan every week. And we eat the same thing on a Monday evening and the same thing on a Tuesday evening with the kids because it just removes the fatigue of having to think about what it is we are buying and eating and preparing. And it just makes things so much easier when you're in the midst of a busy week with school, homework, football, extracurricular activities, and all of that. And then plan for 1 or 2 supermarket shops in the week for ingredients. Simple ways to simplify, take some of the decision making out of your head, automate some of these decisions, and therefore help you overcome procrastination. What I am realizing is that most things are malleable, whereas we consider most things to be fixed. The reason procrastination is so destructive is because your goals are important to you. You have a set of values of the kind of person that you want to be. And when you're procrastinating, there is cognitive dissonance between the person you think you are and the person you are acting as in the moment. And that's why we get pissed off, because we're not doing what we want to when ultimately there's no legitimate reason. If there's a legitimate reason, it's not procrastination. But in the words of Kate Hall, who has been, amongst other things, the CEO of a tech company, a professional poker player, and a lawyer, you can just do things. You can learn how to overcome procrastination as a skill. And that is the difference between you being a person who makes things happen and you being a person who hopes things will happen. If you keep doing the same thing you've always done, you will get the same results. If you keep thinking, oh, I hope I get my workouts in next week, then you're not setting yourself up for success. How can you actually take action? How can you turn that hope into reality? You can shift your beliefs and change your mindset, and you can let go of old stories that have been holding you back. All of this is changeable and malleable. And it starts with a little bit of reflection. So don't procrastinate on this. Don't just listen to this and then think, yeah, that was cool, and then go on with your life. Take action now. Reflect on the 3 questions that I posed. Work out where your biggest gap is, and then work out what the smallest step forward, the smallest action is you can take to overcome that inertia and start gathering momentum and get yourself in motion. It doesn't have to be perfect. It will be messy. You don't have to optimize everything. There will be times where it doesn't go according to plan, and that's okay. If you can look yourself in the mirror and say, I'm giving this my best shot, I'm taking action, I'm moving forward, then that is all you can do. And if you want a bit more public accountability, drop a comment, tell me what you're focusing on, tell me how you're taking action, and I'll see you soon.